Welcome back to Gametime Greatness, Season 13, Episode 4. I'm your host, Jake Vassar, also known as Rex and GG12 Champ, and I'm joined by Michael Baker, GG6 Champ.
Happy to be here. Truly an honor. Gonna make the most of it.
It's game time. Game time. Game time. We winning, we winning, we winning, we winning. It's game time. Game time.
All right, so we're going to go and get right into it. We'll try to keep this in 30 minutes. Also, that has nothing to do with the fact that we're limited on Zoom with a 40-minute meeting. So, right out the get-go, let's go ahead and do some Week 1 recap, and we'll hit all 6 matchups. But before we do that, it's been a little weird this year. Yahoo projections have been really, really low, which I, for one, hate. I don't know why. I just not want to play on Yahoo, to be honest. Mike, how do you feel about them?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just weird looking at your projections week 1 when it usually will have you up at like 155, 153. And that's very even modest. And then you're looking at your teams this year and it's like, oh wow, I have all my starters in and I'm projected 131. That's sick. Must have done really good in the draft this year.
Yeah, it's like we used to get on, and I mean, y'all you'd have 170, and you're like, you're not hitting that number, but it's still super fun to go into the week being like, I might score 170.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's like 200 seems so unobtainable right now, more than it's ever been. So I don't know. It's weird, but with that being said, I think Yahoo's projections are actually more realistic now. I still think they're a little low, but someone in the league, I had pointed out that week 1 was like super low score. I think everyone knows that. And then I think it was Brandon was like, no, week 1's always low scoring, which I totally disagree with. So I went and looked, and sure enough, this year our combined 12-team point total was at 1,511, and that's average 125 per team. So right after that seems low. I would say for our league average is like 140, just off the dome. But then we go back, I just did week 1 for 2020, 2021, 2022. In 2020, the average was 145 points. That's a 20-point swing on average. 2021 was 156 points. That's 30 points more per team. And then 2022 was 139, which is still 14 points more. So, I don't know what it is. I think we're just getting worse as a league. This is a problem. we're 20 to 30 points below our average for just week 1. So, I don't know. I blame Yahoo's low projections on that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it is interesting, but I think when we get through some of the matchups and we see, wow, almost everyone in the league probably had 1 or 2 people on their bench that at least scored, 10, 15, even 20 points. So it's just kind of interesting to look at how it's kind of shaken out.
All right, so first matchup, I'll start with myself, and we'll try to keep these in a minute each because we got a good interview with Mike later I want to save time for. So Najim Hall against Texas Kool-Aid Juggers. I took the dub here. I would say partially pulls himself to blame because he never changed his team name. Kind of mad about that. I had pretty average performances across the board. T-Lon really did well. Jahan Dotson did nothing really. Sky Moore got a 0.4. That was a big bummer. CMC carried his weight and threw out. Isaiah Likely a bust. But all in all, I'm happy with my result. Have some good bench players too. Cole's side, I mean, he just had no one do good. That was really it. Outside of Herbert 3, even for Herbert, that's a letdown. I mean, there's nothing. I don't even think, now that I'm looking, he had 1 touchdown in his whole entire team. So, honestly, 97 points is pretty good for not having a touchdown, or for having only 1 touchdown. But I don't know. Not a great showing for Cole. I'd be a little worried to fire him.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just not only just the lack of touchdowns, but you look at the production from a lot of these players. There are a lot of big name players, but they're just not getting a ton of receptions or even looks from their quarterbacks, or it's Kyle Pitts in an offense where we've seen him do this for 2, 3 years now, where he's just not going to be getting a lot of like it. It's tough, but he's just I don't know. He's gonna have to be pretty creative with the waiver wire. It's never a good sign when you're under 100 points week one.
Yep. All right. Next, you.
Yeah, my game with Brandon. We were texting a lot about this one beforehand, and I think we were both pretty nervous beginning Sunday, and even after like the first batch of Sunday games. I ended up pulling out the dub. I feel like kind of similar to yours. Like I feel like I had a pretty average slate of performances from a lot of people. I had some people overperform, some people that underperformed us. So I think it pretty much averaged out. It's kind of funny that both Brandon and he took T Higgins in the third. I took Drake London in the fourth on that turn, and we are both of our players goose egged and just we're out there, running the track for fun. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good week for me. I'm happy to have the win week one, and I got to be creative. I don't have much of a bench, and Brandon had Jacoby Myers dropped 30, so that if he played a couple things different, he might have had the win for him. So.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. If Brandon did start the right players, he would have had it. But
yeah,
you're not starting Myers over any of his
or Roshan Johnson. Yeah.
All right, next we have Whosoever Williams, which I think was amazing chase last week, and then Thielen hot. So we got the grandpa team on Zach's side, casually skipping over 100 points. I was looking at Zach's team. I just hate it. I hate it up and down. But it's also players who should be decent, so who knows?
Yeah.
Then on Grant's side, he had a pretty abysmal showing too. The only thing that saved him was Dallas defense got 37. I mean, that's a third of the points that Zach scored. So from his defensive slot. So that's really the only takeaway. I think going into Sunday night, Grant was projected to lose, and then Dallas D just kept going up, and then he ended up winning by 15. I mean, that was actually a shocking finish. Pretty cool though. Next.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a good match. I mean, I think we were all pretty surprised. I kind of thought Zach's team would be like really, really good at the beginning part of the year. So it's kind of weird to see them, barely scrape above 100 points. It's pretty tough. So we'll see how he does. For the next one, we got more points, please, which good old CC coming in clutch with the team name change finally. We'll see how that one works. And then he played Matt. CC, unfortunately, grabbing the loss here. He just looks like he just got kind of unlucky with a lot of his players that he put in. He also did not play a kicker. Definitely got bit by the injury bug week one. He didn't have that really hurts. Rashad Penny didn't. I think he was rolled out by a coach's decision. So it's just kind of unlucky. I can understand not wanting to cut some of those players in order to afford your team a kicker, but I just don't have much to say on this one. It's just tough luck, and we'll see how he turns it around, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. We all thought CC's team was amazing, and you take Kelsey out, and it's the grossest team ever. So
yeah, it's tough.
Matt's side, Gibbs had a letdown performance on Thursday night, but ended up squeaking it out. JJF pulling his weight, and his defense and kicker did amazing. I mean, that's 30 points between CC's defense and kicker and Matt's. So that's almost the whole game.
Yeah.
So lesson learned there, I guess. All right, next we have Ethan versus Parker, high yield CD, and To Infinity and Bijan. Great names. As expected, Ethan's team is pretty good. Off to a hot start. Hate saying that though. I mean, he had really no one letting him down other than Tyler Lockett, as expected. Hate to say it, but I was right on that one, at least through week one. And let's see, Parker's side, he got unlucky with Garrett Wilson. I think Garrett Wilson, even though he had 14, he was probably primed up, and Josh Allen both. That game was just weird. I thought they both were primed out for about 40 points to 50 points total between both of them, but that didn't happen. And then his running backs stink. His tight end stinks. Evan's kicker are bad. So
yeah,
good showing by Ethan.
Yeah, I think at least for Parker, he does have some solid. I don't know why we always just sleep on Zay Jones. Like he's just going to get a touchdown every other week from Lawrence. It's just how it is. So he has Dobbs, who had obviously 2 touchdowns, but like you never know with the Packers and what that's going to look like. Who Jordan Love is actually going to rely on at receiver, especially while Christian Watson is out. But and Gus Edwards, with Dobbins being out for the rest of the year now, maybe Gus Edwards becomes an RB1, and that can kind of shore up some of the difficulties he has on running back right now. So I think it's still optimistic for Parker.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is Zay Jones. I really back myself into a corner here because I hate Zay Jones, but I have T-Law. So it's either Zay Jones does good because T-Law does good, and I have to just end up liking him, or Zay Jones starts dropping the ball a bunch, and I'm really going to hate him.
Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, but a good win for Ethan nonetheless. The next one, we got Noah, Michael Anthony Jones versus Jackson. You kind of carry the boats. A couple banger teammates for sure. Noah pulled out the win. He scored the most of anyone in the league week 1, which is pretty crazy because I feel like 174. I know we're looking at the stats from past seasons, like 174, that being like the highest scoring of any team. It feels like we usually have a couple teams that can get around there to like the high 160s, higher 170s even. So it's interesting seeing it. But I feel like Noah's team, I feel like a lot of people were kind of down on it, and they kind of came to play. He's got Anthony Richardson sitting on his bench too. So he's at a pretty good spot. He's going to have to figure out a couple things if McLaurin doesn't hit, but I feel like he's going to, once he gets healthy by like week 5, week 6, he'll be really reliable. And I don't know. It's tough for Jarvis because he got a couple really good games out of Diggs and Ayuk, and still just not able to, even hit his projection for the week.
Yep, he got some great games from them. Lamar was a total letdown. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say I'm like serious about this. I'm not gonna say I was right about the Ravens because it was just 1 week, but that's not a good showing against the Houston Texans. That is a fact.
Yeah, I think he's gonna have to get creative with running back as well, just because he doesn't have too many people that he can just kind of throw in there. Maybe Chuba Hubbard becomes someone that's reliable that he can slot in for McKinnon. But I mean, he's still at a fine spot though. There's definitely worse teams in the league, I think.
Yep, and he's got Christian Watson on his bench too. So
he's true.
He's actually a starter. All right, so that concludes those. So let's hit some overreactions, and you can shoot from the cuff here. I wrote a couple down, but first off, starting with Thursday night, Kansas City wide receivers stink, and I think every single one of them is dropped. I think you might hold on to Tony one more week because Tony kind of proved it last year, but Sky Moore, he's going to get 1 week on my bench, and then he's cut loose. And then all the other guys, I mean, it's like 2 catches for 30 yards each across 8 people. It's horrible.
Yeah. I think Rashee Rice is probably the most interesting prospect of all of them, just because it seemed like Mahomes was kind of relying on it. But even then, like, he's probably going to be very, very inconsistent and not reliable. And so,
Cowboys offense, that looks kind of like a question mark. And it's not so much that they're might be bad, but it's just their defense is so good they don't need them. So it's really hard to say. Like, I feel like that game was such a fluke. I would just throw it out the window, but I'm still keeping my antenna up for the Cowboys offense. I'm down on them this year.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
I'm putting Matt on the hot seat. If you look at his draft going basically all the middle rounds, outside of his top 2 or 3 picks. So start with DK. DK's ceiling is capped by Geno. And if Geno had a terrible week 1, if that holds throughout the season, DK is going to be a huge letdown. Then he drafted Fields, bad week 1 showing. Then he had drafted IR Dobbins. He's out for the season. Hollywood Brown, not an exciting player, and he's on the Cardinals. So you're now Hollywood could turn out if Kyler
comes back. Right.
But again, it's hard to say if they're even going to try to be competitive. But they did look better than I expected week 1. Christian Kirk proved himself to be a wide receiver 3 on the Jags. I still think he is wide receiver 2, but weird fluky week. A-Chain was a healthy scratch. I feel like there's something more to that. I just saw a thing and said he's a healthy scratch. So still worrisome. Hugh Johnson, like a fourth stringer on the Chargers, and he got 9 yards in a shootout. So, but I think he'll develop over the season. But like
Agreed.
all those five, 6 picks, like really to me high risk with a minimal ceiling for all of them. So I don't know. It's how Matt drafted, and he probably sees those players differently. But I personally don't like any one of those names. Obviously, I like A-Chain, but not for fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Quentin Johnson. I feel like one of the Chargers receivers every year gets hurt by pulling their hammy. So I feel like there will be a chance for them from like week 7 to week 12 for him to like kind of prove himself, but it's going to be a ways off. And, how long can your team stay afloat with Christian Kirk as your,
Yeah.
wide receiver too?
Yeah. And then Brandon's team, like, I thought I was middle of the road at first, but man, after Geno has a bad showing, Waddle, he's going to go up and down, and he had a fine week with 12, but T. Higgins was 0. He'll bounce back. Like Gabe Davis, he's up and down. Madison, he's fine. And then now that I'm going through these, outside of Deontay Johnson being done for a while, or maybe this season, I don't really know what happened to him. He's just gonna have to live with the go big or go home. Like those 3 guys I just listed off could go for 25 to 40 or 1 to 3 points. So I guess you just get what you get there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he obviously, I think he came into the season knowing he has a pretty risky team. Like Madison being his RB1 that he took, I think in the 5th round, he was not very effective as a runner in game 1, right? Like I know that's been kind of the narrative a lot of people are talking about. And Hawkinson is going to have 45 one week randomly, and then the next week he's going to disappear and have 3 receptions for 22 yards. Like just kind of the nature of the beast. Same with Deontay when he is healthy, and Brian Robinson I think will be consistent, but like I think he hit the nail on the head with it being just an inconsistent team. So
actually, you say, I think T. Hawk is probably his safest player. He got 8 catches for 35 yards.
Yeah,
which is terrible. I mean,
but he still has some games where he disappears, though. He's always done that. So that's any tight end.
He is going to have the 35-point week though at some point.
Yeah.
And then another thing too, Alexander Madison being running back 1, he only got 13 with a touchdown. So you take the touchdown out, and he's looking at 7 points. That's not really what you want from your starting running back.
Yeah, only 34 rushing yards.
Yep. The last call I'll make is Zach. His bench is so bad. So he's got the old team, and his bench is Adam Thielen, Zeke, Michael Gallup, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Paris Campbell, and something McCoglin. These are the Denver backup running back. All those guys combined for probably 10 points.
It's pretty bleak.
The nice thing for Zach is there's a lot of good waiver pickups this week, and he has a chance to just really recycle all of those guys. So I expect him to make at least 4 transactions between now and when this podcast out, but I guess we'll see.
Just turn it into a garage sale.
Yeah. All right. We're running out of time here. So let's get into the hard knocks from Michael Baker. So I prepared some questions, and Mike should get to answer them. Some are general NFL, some are general fantasy, and some are very specific to his team. So let's get into it all. I'll give you a little softball up front. So what NFL team is Marlon Mack on?
Oh, man, he was on the Colts. Is he not on the Colts anymore?
On the Arizona Cardinals.
Is he actually?
He's on IR for the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow.
Next one. Who do you model your fantasy career after? The correct answer is me, because you drafted 4 of my players from last year in the first 4 rounds.
Well, you didn't draft Eckler last year. You got him in a trade.
True. But there's still 4 guys.
You did have Olave, Steven. Yeah, okay. That's fair.
All right.
I didn't even know that.
Now for some serious questions. Who would you rather have? Player A, Player A has 1 to 3 design rushes per game, top 5 scoring offense, best QB in the league, more targets and more points than player B. And then player B has no rushing attempts in his career, the number 1 rushing offense, and 1 to 5 targets per game, fewer targets and fewer points on the season. Which one would you rather have?
So is it basically like okay? I think I'd take player A.
All right.
Well, hearing your
player
stats
A
correctly.
Guy Moore and player B is Drake London. So you want to make that trade?
You did text me about that transaction last night, so it's tough.
Did.
It's tough.
All right.
He'll score in week 2.
Yeah. All right. So now for the serious questions. So when for this is specific to you, and there's not really right or wrong, but when does draft value not matter when you're considering trades, ads, drops? So to give you an example, I guess I'm asking like what week does it really start to like that doesn't really matter when you drafted him? Because like for me, if I was going to shop Breece Hall, I got him in the 5th, so I would look 4th or 5th round around there. Like, all right, what's the market rate for Breece Hall today? I think right now it's relevant, but at what week do you think that draft doesn't really matter?
I mean, for me, I feel like you can kind of know pretty early with some players, just because some people are going to overperform where their ADP was, and that's why they're going to get drafted higher the year after. Like Jordan Addison, after what he showed us week 1, like if we were going to redraft, you'd probably take him a lot higher because he's in a throw heavy offense, But like, I feel like by week like 7, usually,
really?
I feel
that late.
I mean, I still hold on to ADP. I feel like it's important. I do a lot of mock drafts, so I still have it kind of ingrained in my head, even that far into the season.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, I mean, usually you can get pretty equal value when you consider that in trades, no matter how late in the season. Because some people are just, no matter what they do in their career, they're always going to be taken in the 6th round. That's just how they are.
Yeah.
They're a good, productive role player, but not like a focal piece.
Yeah. So I really thought you were going to say earlier than that. And I am curious, like people watching, drop in the GG what you think when like it doesn't really matter. Because like for me, I think I would give it the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then at that point, it's like you can kind of see the trajectory of the player for the season, especially how like injuries shake out too. So I'm much earlier, but that is interesting. I didn't think you were going to say that.
Except for Sammy Watkins.
All right. So what's your temperature on your QB room, your RB room, and your receiver room? So first, QB Deshaun Watson. How you feeling about him? You took him.
Yeah, no, I'm terrified of him, honestly. I didn't watch much of that game. I just watched like the highlights, and it seemed like kind of a one-off performance because they just stomped the Bengals.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's going to be good. Like if they get behind in games, he's still probably going to play, and he'll probably get some garbage time stuff going. I feel like the Browns are pretty good at that, but I'm not like sold on him having like 35, 36 point games. I feel like he's going to have a good floor of like, 16, 17 points, and high side is like 25 if he has a game with no interceptions and 2 passing touchdowns and rushes in one. Like I feel like that's realistic.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of what I see for it. My running back room, I feel pretty solid about it. Eckler Stevenson is nice, and then I still have Kamara on suspension. I'm scared of the rookie they have there. I can't remember his name, but he looked pretty good. And then they still have Jamal Williams. So I think Kamara's going to have to kind of like fight his way back in, but I still feel like he could be a solid flex option once we get into like bye weeks. But my receivers, that's probably the most shaky part of my team. Obviously, having your 4th round pick basically get overlooked on your team. It's pretty tough. Desmond Ridder is a joke, and Cortland Sutton's probably going to be irrelevant by week, 6 or 7 when Jerry Jeudy gets back, and they're kind of the Broncos. So I don't feel great about my receiver core. I'm definitely going to be playing the waiver wire. Probably not this week as much, but definitely like next week, and start kind of seeing how things shake out after next week's games.
Yeah. All right. That's a good segue into what 3 players are you targeting on the wire this week? Or
this week?
Another question would be, like where are you trying to strengthen your bench? And also this isn't going to come out tonight, so no one's going to see it. And I've already put it in my waivers, so
yeah. No, the only bid I put out, if I remember right, was for I put out one for Joshua Kelly, just because I feel like he's pretty good, especially with Eckler getting hurt last week. He still had a lot of really good volume with Eckler playing nearly the entire game. So, and I think he's pretty good. So I definitely want him on my team just to have as like a solid handcuff, even a flex option if he's going to get that kind of volume.
totally agree.
I liked the only other one I really looked at was Shaheed on the Saints, just because I feel like he could, I'm scared about that one because I have Olave. So, but yeah, but I do like him. That's the only two bids that I really like took a good hard look at and put some fab on.
Yeah, if you do get cheated though, and he keeps up what he was doing, I think you could easily trade him to like a team like mine.
That's what I kind of thought about too.
Yeah. So I think like as we're talking about like technical fantasy, I don't think having those duplicate players on the same team, the same position should matter when you're looking at fab, because you could always try to trade those guys off. I think Shaheed, if he does that same performance again, could be a starter on your team in flex.
Yeah.
And then Kelly, that's a perfect compliment to Eckler. So I think that's a good pickup. I'm not going for him just because I'm too loaded at running back already. But his volume was incredible and he played really well.
Yeah. I feel like my receiver room needs more love than my running back room at the moment, at least. So Zay Flowers has been really good. So that's the positive.
Yep. All right. What's your pulse on Darren Waller? Obviously the Giants lost 40-0, probably a fluke game, but I don't know. Are you looking to add any competition to your tight end room, or are you going to leave it?
I think I got to ride it out. I'm so high on him still. I've never had him before. I've always thought he was really fun. I feel like you got to give it like 3 or 4 weeks and just kind of see how it shakes out. But if there's if someone becomes available that's just like you can't pass up at tight end, on the waiver, take a look at it.
You're not looking to trade Waller at all.
I know you already texted me about wanting to trade for him, and no,
that was before week 1 though. But yeah.
I feel like the Giants are going to turn it around the next couple of weeks, honestly. So
I sure hope so.
They're not going to be that bad. Again.
2 questions left. So you picked Kamara at the 6'9" bonk with the
ridiculous.
All right, I'm gonna cut that, Grant. All right, you can
Don't cut it. Don't cut it.
You picked Kamara at the 6'9" with only a 3-week suspension, which I think was a great value. So week 4, I'm assuming you're starting him. Throw him right in. But who do you like play him over? So you think about your team. You're probably not playing him over Ramondre or Eckler, but like over in your flex, who are you starting him over?
Yeah, I feel like at that point, honestly, there's a pretty good chance that maybe Sutton has fallen off by then, so I can put Zay in that wide receiver 3 spot, and then he can just slot in there. It really depends how Juju's doing. I did not like how little he was kind of targeted and like looked at in their offense, but maybe that was just a really, really weird game. But New England's obviously going to be a very pass heavy offense, and maybe Juju's just who he has been for the last 5 years. So I kind of thought he was going to get a lot more volume, but I feel like I have plenty of options to like alternate people in and out of my flex depending how they're doing. I don't even know who New Orleans is playing that 4th week when he's back, but that'll definitely kind of factor in who if I want to play him over somebody. Probably it's he and Drake London can both score 0 for me.
Yeah. Let's see. Are you going to end up changing your defense? So right now you have Seattle in there, and guess what?
Yeah.
8 years ago, and they got 1 point against a terrible team.
I thought the Rams were going to be awful, as everyone else did. So I didn't have a defense. I didn't draft a defense this season, so I just was grabbing whatever looked good week 1. So it's definitely something to adjust this week before. That's going to be on Hard Knocks episode 2 that will be released this week. So.
Oh, okay. I didn't know you were doing a separate thing. Okay. And then last one, here's your plug is who, like, I guess it could be twofold. Who are guys you're willing to trade? And then, or if you're like, put someone on the trade block, or you could also answer of who are guys you want on someone else's team, or like one guy. Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jahan Dotson. That's my undying guy. I would trade you Waller for him straight up right now. So just kidding, but just jokes. You'd have to throw in something else. But anyway, as far as my team goes, I honestly like everyone's pretty movable. I'd probably part ways with a lot of these guys. I have a couple dudes on my bench that I'm like holding out hope for that they're just gonna be elite eventually. I love Tank Bigsby this year. Like I know ETN he looks good. He's always really good, but I think Tank Bigsby can be pretty solid. Besides that, I mean, everyone on my team is pretty liquid when it comes to that. As far as guys that I definitely like want to have, I really wanted like Brandon Cooks this year. That's not looking great. I was super high on Amari Cooper. Obviously, it's kind of funny. Both those are on Cole's team, but they didn't look. And Jahan Dotson didn't even have a good week one. I feel like I'm kind of lucky. A lot of the dudes that I was like pretty locked in on grabbing in the draft, they didn't end up panning out, at least in the week one. So makes it a little bit easier. But I don't have like people that I'm like avidly trying to go out and trade for right now. I definitely like my team where it's at. I feel like it's worth kind of letting it ride for a little bit and just see how it shakes out by week like 3 or 4, especially once I get Kamara back and see if he's actually going to be reliable or not. Then it's time to kind of figure some stuff out. But for right now, I feel like I need to see more because Waller and London, I don't know how they're going to factor in. So that could be the difference between me being 160, a week or something. So.
Yeah, I think Amari Cooper would be a good compliment to your team with Deshaun. I seriously think you should try to go after him. That'd be pretty nice. All right. Well, that concludes the Mike segment, the Mike interview. Let's knock out some of these last things real quick. I just put on here notable transactions before week 1 that I think are going to be pretty important moving forward. So Ethan, he put Devontae Parker on IR before week 1 because he got hurt or something. He added Kyron Williams, the running back from the Rams, who had an amazing week 1. Lots of touches. Something we haven't touched on yet, but Rams really surprised both of us. They looked so much better than we both thought, and probably everyone thought. So Kyron Williams could be a huge pickup, and Ethan wouldn't have done it unless he had that extra spot. So thank you. Shout out to Devontae Parker. And then I picked up Puka Nakua.
Yeah.
Awesome name. Just off hype news, and when he like that original sleeper notification came out that he like tweaked it again. I just picked him up because my team's really green on receivers, so I was just kind of shooting at everything. Anyway, fast forward to now, Kupp, he's out. He's on PUP, so he's out for 4 weeks. And Nakua had an amazing week 1, so I know he was probably going to be one of the higher added players for this waivers, but I'm glad I have him. And I hope. I don't think I have the nuts to start him yet, but he's on my. He's not. If he puts up one more good game, I think I will.
But Tutu Atwell also on the waiver wire. So
yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I will start him because Kupp's not going to be out forever. So we'll see. And let's see. Draft concerns. Kupp on the PUP in round 1. That just sucks for Brandon. The rest of his team also sucks. So start the season for B. Scotty. And that's just a me take. I'm sure not everyone hates him. And then Jonathan Taylor also on the PUP round 4, and then he's also just battling, is he actually going to play this season? So TBD on what's going to go on there with Cole's team, but Cole figured it out. Draft steals. So Brandon Ayuk at the 6'3", great pick. Zay Flowers for you. You got him in the 8th round. I took Tyler Algier in the 10th round. Anthony Richardson, I thought that was a great pick by Noah.
I did too.
And it's not like he had a knockout week 1, but he had the best of the rookies and really did really well for a rookie in his first game. Zay Jones appears to be decent, unfortunately, at the 12th round. Curtis Samuel, by Parker. Parker also took Curtis Samuel on the 14th, which is good. And then Dallas D also on the 14th. Grant, I mean, that might be a gem all season. So
yeah, they're so elite. It's crazy.
And then I'll just give an update on my takes, my preseason takes that the Cowboys were going to get last in the division. That is probably not going to be true, but their offense still sucks. So we'll see. Ravens play the Texans, so it's hard to say, but LJX had a bad week 1, and then J.K. Dobbins and the running back crew didn't have a great week 1 either, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And the Bucks, I think I'm still right on. Evans did really well, but Godwin, he put up like 12. So that's what I was saying. Like, you're not going to get a ceiling from both of them in any given week. It's going to be one or the other all season, and at the end of the day, you're going to be unhappy. But we'll see. And then NFL surprises, you can talk about these, especially the Cardinals, better than expected. I thought they were just going to throw them away, but
I think I mean, the teams you have listed here: Colts, Rams, Cardinals, Packers. I feel like they all kind of performed better. Like, obviously, A-Rich being really solid was nice. He made a lot of really good connections for Pittman. I don't even know who has Pittman in our league, but that's definitely welcome, because I know I was pushed off of taking Pittman, even though he had a okay season last year, even better the year before. He's still really young. I was scared to take him just because having a rookie quarterback that's run first is kind of scary. So the Rams, CC has him. Good for him. It's probably his best player. The Rams being kind of shocking. I mean, obviously Tutu Atwell and Nakua, we just harped on them being surprises, which was nice. Stafford is just, he's a very average quarterback, an adult in the room, and he did a fine job. So Cardinals, I'm even shocked by this. We traded Isaiah Simmons for 7th round pick for, I don't even know. I just kind of forgot how many veterans we have on the team, and they care. They're gonna play really hard. We're not gonna win games, but I feel like we're gonna be scrappier than a lot of people think, and we might catch a few more than I thought. I didn't think we were gonna get more than 3 wins this season, but it might be like 4 or 5 still. And then the Packers, Jordan Love just looked pretty solid. Turns out sitting sidelines with Aaron Rodgers for 3 years can help you. So
yeah, I hate that the Packers were better than I thought, but here we are. And then worse than expected Bengals. I think that's a fluke week. I think they'll be fine. But I know Grant's probably a little worried right now with the Burrow Chase stack. But again, I think that's going to solve itself. Seahawks looked terrible. And I don't understand. Like, I don't think Geno's that good, but they have so much talent on their offense, and their defense is serviceable. So that one was weird. That was really weird to me, and it really reminds me of last year when the Seahawks played Denver Monday Night Football Week 1, and I was like, Denver's going to come in and smoke the Seahawks. They didn't. So when they just lost Russell Wilson, Wilson is make Denver amazing, and then it was exactly opposite of that, and then that bled on through the entire season. So I am a little worried as an owner of JSN and Charbonnet. Like, if there's another down week on the Seahawks, I'm willing to trade those guys. Even though I think they'll have a good second half of the season, but I don't have the patience for that. So
yeah.
Eagles looked pretty weak. They beat the Pats, but I think the Pats were terrible, and they let the Pats really claw themselves back in it. And the Eagles did nothing in the second half of the game. So again, I think they'll be fine, but that was a weird fast start, and then they did nothing. Giants. I mean, no comment.
Kind of goes without saying. Yeah, it's a weird game. It was wet. They just kind of gave up in the second quarter, it looked like.
And the Steelers, they looked worse. I'm not so sure how much that is. The 49ers are really that good. But Steelers had a huge preseason, which is kind of stupid to hype a team around, but they looked good on the first drive of every preseason. So I thought they were going to be better. Deontay Johnson stinks. So they're probably on a downward trajectory, but I guess we'll see.
Are you losing stock in Najee year by year?
No, I took him again because I know what he did last year. He had this exact same start. He was mid, forgettable, and then at the end of the season, he strung together 15 points a week, and nobody talked about him. So
Yeah.
I'll hold out hope. Deontay Johnson going out, that to me that leaves more room for Jalen Waddle, or what am I saying? Jalen Warren for more receptions, and then that leaves more touches on the ground and maybe receptions for Najee. So I'm not too worried about it, but if their offense doesn't move, yeah, that is a concern. But
yeah, my two picks for teams that are obviously kind of underwhelming. I feel like a lot of people needed cold water put on them for the Bears hype, just thinking that the Bears were actually going to like just kind of come back into the like they were saying pretty much with the Vikings regression and the Packers not having Rodgers that it was like Lions are tier one because they finished the year so strong, Bears right behind it. And I don't really see it. Like you still have Justin Fields who can't throw, and you're depending a lot of people in this offense that like Ethan drafted 3 Bears last year on his team. Like it's just what was it for? It's crazy, but so I just didn't get all the Bears hype necessarily. I feel like they're still probably the worst team in that division just because their defense can't stop anybody. Yeah, and then I also said the Titans. That's the last thing, just because Tannehill just looked really really rough, and that definitely hurts. I know a lot of people have a lot of stock in Treylon Burks and some of the other pieces on that offense, like DeAndre and Derrick Henry, obviously, but they might be okay as far as role players and good flex options. But I don't know. Some of those guys just might not be startable week to week. Depends.
Yeah, D-Hop had a fine showing, but the rest of the team's terrible.
Yeah.
And I didn't put them on the worst expected because I just expected them to be bad. But there are pieces in that offense that are really good, so you would think they would be okay. But yeah, they did look very bad.
Rough.
All right. Any other closing comments?
Episode 2 of Hard Knocks will be soon. TBD.
Let's go. Is that going to be just you filming?
Yeah, but it's just a quick 5-minute.
Nice.
Crush it. Let's go.
Wait. All right. Well, that concludes episode 4 of GG13. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, subscribe in the bottom left corner, and we will close.